Greetings, I'm Demonac, and it's Hearthstone time.
Alright, continuing my thoughts on the Knights of the Frozen Throne set list. The first 6 classes were in part 1. We're up to Shaman. So first we have the Burlock, who's a 2/2 Murloc for 2. I have some appreciation for Murlocs that are just that little tiny bit larger, like 2/2 for 2 is not bad for a Murloc. And Battlecry, freeze an enemy. Like, okay, that's solid. But this is where, as I mentioned in the previous video, they're taking some of these sort of class themes and trying to expand them a little bit to a second class. So used to be only mages kind of had these freezing interaction type things, but now Shaman's going to have some stuff that interacts with freezing. So the Burlock can freeze an enemy. That's fine it's a fine Murloc, I guess. Cryostasis is a really interesting card. So for 2 mana, you give a minion +3/+3 and freeze it. So that's a really strong, flexible card. Because if it's your minion, you could attack with it first and then give it +3/+3 and freeze it. So I think if you freeze it on your turn, it should unfreeze on your next turn. I think. Actually, maybe, no, maybe not. Maybe you have to, maybe it doesn't unfreeze until you've already started a turn with it. I don't know. I might get the timing wrong on that. But anyway, so you can freeze your own minion to make it bigger so that when it unfreezes, it's like a powerhouse. You can also use this to freeze an enemy minion if you really have to. Now, usually you're not going to want to, because giving an enemy minion +3/+3 is pretty bad, but there may be circumstances where that's what you need to do to save the day. Just stop that thing from attacking for 1 turn so you can do whatever you need to do. So it's kind of interesting that way. Here's more deck manipulation. Ice fishing, just draw 2 Murlocs from your deck. So again, you could be just playing a Murloc deck, and this will help you get your Murlocs going faster. This will help you get your Shaman quest for Murlocs. That's fine. But this could also be to get very, very specific Murlocs. Like, say you wanted to make, I don't know why you'd be using Shaman, but you wanted to make a deck that was more sort of like decking your opponent based. You could have your 2 copies of the Murloc who causes everyone to draw 2 cards, and maybe 1 or 2 others just so you get some use out of this, and then this would almost guaranteed pull those guys. Because if you don't have many other Murlocs, you're going to get the ones you do have. Or you could just have, like, legendary Murlocs, although they usually just care about other Murlocs, so that's probably not as useful. But anyway, you can tutor for Murlocs, though. Force you to get those Murlocs. And again, if you're playing with a lot of Murlocs that cost 2 or less, then helping to replenish your hand and also thin out your deck from those things later on is pretty valuable. Drukhari Defender is a strong card. I don't know if it's a really good card, but it sure does a lot, because he's a 2/8 taunt for 3, but he's got Overload 3. So he's actually costing you 6 mana over 2 turns, which is quite an investment. On the other hand, turn 3, a 2/8 is pretty huge. Turn 2, with the coin, you got a 2/8 taunt. Your opponent's probably not beating you down with their turn 1 to 3 minions. They're just not. That is like a hell of a block. Is it really good overall to sacrifice your next turn for that? That I'm not as sure. Although I could see using this over the Wolves potentially. So it's hard to say. But he definitely does a lot. So here's Icebreaker. It's just a 1/3 weapon for 3, but it automatically destroys frozen minions that are damaged by it. So you could use your Burlock, or if you really had to, you have to really want it dead to give it +3/+3 and then ram your face into it with the Icebreaker. But still, you could Burlock something, you freeze it, and then hit it with Icebreaker, it dies. So that I'm not a huge fan of that, because I don't think they have enough things that freeze yet, but there are also some neutral minions that freeze. Maybe you could get that working. Speaking of things that freeze, Avalanche. For 4 mana, you freeze a target minion, and then this does no damage to the minion you freeze, but it does deal 3 damage to the minions on either side of it. So this lets you do potentially hit 3 minion, or sorry, potentially do 2 damage. Can't even say it. potentially deal 3 damage to 2 different minions while freezing the third minion if they're positioned the way you want them to. On the other hand, you might have to make a hard choice of which minion to not damage. But at least it's frozen, so it's not going to attack you. So that's kind of interesting. And here we have, all the way down at 5 mana, the Shaman, Death Knight. And man, he is freaky. So he's only 5 mana, you get 5 armor. His battle cry is a 2-point evolution. Transform your minions into random minions that cost 2 more. That is so huge. But unlike some of the other Death Knights that might consider strong, he is going to do nothing for you unless you have one or preferably several minions in play, not dead. So that is not necessarily the easiest to work with, although if you're spamming out a bunch of Murlocs and then you turn them all into random minions that cost 2 more, ugh. They were all cheap anyway. They were probably good for time, and then maybe you outgrew them. I don't know, but that is a really powerful battle cry. And then it also changes your hero power to transform it to just evolve one random friendly minion, or I guess it's targeted. So target a friendly minion and evolve that minion for 1. So wow, the amount of evolution. If you had 7 mana when you play this guy, you can bump up all your minions by 2 mana, and then bump up one of them again to a 3 mana higher than what it was. If it was a 4 mana minion, you would be bumping it up to a 7 cost minion. Also, you can use the Transmute Spirit to try and help hedge your bets in case any of them turn into Doomsayer or something that's going to screw you by killing all your minions next turn. So this gives you a little bit of a protection against bad death rattles, other disadvantages you don't want. So that is really cool. I would like to have him and play around with him. That seems like a lot of fun. Is it as good as the other ones? It's definitely not as control-y. It's kind of strange that way. But it does still mean that if you play with a lot of battle cry stuff, then you can get the battle cry out of your minion. Every turn you draw a card, you play it, get his battle cry, and then transform it into something that hopefully has better stats than your battle cry guy. I don't know. He's very cool. I wish I'd gotten him instead of the Hunter one. Even though I'm not sure if he's the best, he's at least fun. Voodoo Hexer is a 2/7 for 5 taunt, and freeze any character damaged by this minion. So she obviously works pretty well with Icebreaker. That's really annoying. I don't know if it's really good, but it's really annoying because she can freeze a lot of crap. Then we have Murabi, which is your legendary. He's a 4/4 for 6. Whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. What? Yeah. Every time you freeze a minion, you add a copy of it to your hand. That can get so messed up with her. Imagine if your opponent has to hit her with 3 minions in order to get through, or you play her and then your opponent plays a minion, you just hit it with her. She'll freeze it so it can't attack right away, do 2 damage, and then also add a copy of it to your hand. I'm assuming this triggers even if the minion dies. I don't know, but either way, that's so it's kind of situational, but it's also kind of crazy. And then we have the Snow Fury Giant. It's an 8/8 for 11. Okay, standard sort of giant-y stuff. It costs 1 less for each mana crystal that you've overloaded this game. So it's not each overload card you played. It's for each overload crystal that you've gone through. So you could actually get him down to 3 or 4 mana with just 3 or 4 big overloads. You could pretty quickly get that down. So he seems really cool. Yeah, apparently he goes all the way to 11, of course. Anyhow, no, he seems really cool. So there's some interesting stuff there. I really like their Death Knight, even though I don't actually think he's the best one. Then we have Warlock. So, okay, Sanguine Reveler. He's a 1/1 for 1. Battle Cry, destroy a friendly minion, and gain +2/+2. So that's very Warlocky. Seems fairly cool. So you can play him turn 1 for 1 mana. I mean, his battle cry is going to do nothing if you don't have any friendly minions. Or if you can attack with a friendly minion, and then for 1 mana you play him, and then he's a 3/3. That's not too bad. Also, you can be triggering death rattles, or getting rid of something that has a drawback. You can do all kinds of stuff with that. So he's He's an interesting card. I can see why they played him. He's not exciting to me, but I can see why they did that. Defile is pretty exciting. Okay, so follow this. It's one of those copy itself spells. So Defile deals 1 damage to all minions. If any of them die, it goes off again. If any of them die, it goes off again. So it's weird because sometimes this is just going to do like 1 damage to all minions. Like it might kill nothing, or usually you can get it to do 2 damage to all minions. Okay, you rig it so that something is going to die from 1 damage, then it go off twice. Okay, but you could also set up like a death cascade, where it does like if there are minions that all have sort of slightly varying health, this could literally go through and kill like 1 damage to everything and kills one, 2 damage to everything kills another, 3 damage to everything kills like a couple of them, 4 damage to. It says if any die. It's not going to recast it for each one that dies, as far as I can tell. It's just like as long as each individual casting kills 1 or more minions, it will cast it again. So you could potentially do like 3 or 4 damage to all minions by casting this, as long as it's actually killing a bunch of them. That's pretty sweet. And even then, like, for 2 mana, deal 1 damage to all minions is perfectly okay. Deal 2 damage to all minions as long as you kill, like, as long as one of them was at 1 health, is pretty damn good for 2 mana. So I think this card is amazing. Drain Soul, pretty good. I like this a lot better than the old, like, whatever the crappy Drain Life is. It's 2 mana. It deals 2 damage only to minions, but it has lifesteal. So I would rather pay 2 mana to deal 2 damage to a minion and heal 2, than pay 3 mana and deal 2 damage to whatever and heal 2, because that 3 mana just makes that thing unattractive. 3 mana for 2 damage. 2 for 2, this is fine, and you heal. You know, you can benefit from spell damage just like anything else. In fact, Drain Life, I'm pretty sure the original like 3 mana Drain Life, because it didn't work like Lifesteal, I think if you increased it with spell damage, you still only healed 2. This is going to heal you more the more spell damage you have, so that's cool. Gnome Feratu, 2/3 for 2, so solid stats. Battlecry, remove the top card of your opponent's deck. That's it. We have our first milling, like the millstone in Magic the Gathering. This is the first way I know of that you can just blow up a random card from your opponent's deck, and to mess up their combos and stuff like that. There's nothing they can do about it. It just comes out, blows up one card, and hopefully makes them really sad. So I don't know how strong this is. Like in the arena, this is probably not all that strong at all. But I'm betting that in like high-level tournament play, people are going to be terrified of this thing, because previously in Hearthstone, there was no way to make your opponent lose like one of their key combo cards. There's virtually no way. This is a very clear way. You don't have any control over it. It's totally random, but out of the 20-some cards they have left in their deck, maybe less than that later in the game, you are going to blow up one of their cards, and it may probably be something they will miss. So, very freaking constructive. For Arena, for my person, not that interesting. It's just a 2/3 for 2. Howl Fiend. It's a 3/6 for 3. Yay, those are great stats. And it's a demon. Whenever this minion takes damage, discard a random card. I don't think I want that in my Arena deck. I'm sure that you can make a discard lock where that is actually a perfectly solid good thing, where he's huge size, and he makes you discard a lot. He's awesome, but that is a scary thing to try and use, I would think. But 3/6 for 3, that's a lot of stats. Treachery, 3 mana, choose a friendly minion, and give it to your opponent. Again, this is not going to be a very useful arena. There's a lot of really combo-y stuff in this set that is not particularly conducive to arena play, and this is probably one of them, but man. Warlocks have a lot of minions that have like crazy disadvantages. If you can just give one away, that's probably annoying. Say you have that shitty like 4/3 for 2 demon, and whenever it takes damage, it deals that much damage to you. Well, you could hit your opponent for 4 with that, then spend 3 mana, give it to your opponent, and then play something that does a lot that damages minions but not players, for example. Blow it up and have them take a whole bunch of damage. I don't know how viable that is. I'm sure someone's going to find a devastating use for this somewhere. Not sure exactly what it is, but they will find one. Because there are some cards that have crazy drawbacks in this set in particular. Unwilling Sacrifice. 3 mana, choose a friendly minion, destroy it, and a random enemy minion. So, it's a deadly shot, except that you have to sacrifice a minion. Which could be a pro or a con since you're a warlock, I don't know. Still, it's like, it's a random enemy minion, that's kind of annoying, but as you all know with Deadly Shot, if they only have one minion, it's very, very accurate. So, that's pretty interesting. Again, you can. I keep thinking all this stuff where you're losing a friendly minion. You can attack with it first usually if they don't have a taunt that's big enough to kill it. In fact, a lot of times you can attack, kill an enemy or damage an enemy, and your minion survives, and then take your very badly wounded minion and sacrifice it. So it's not costing you as much. So this thing's pretty cool. Blood Queen Lenathel. Yeah, she's 1/6 for 5. But she has lifesteal, and she has +1 attack for each card you've discarded this game. I'm assuming that works in play and in your hand. This is this game, right? So, yeah, I mean, she could easily be a decent-sized lifesteal. I don't know if she's that exciting to me, but, I mean, if you're playing a discard deck, you probably might as well throw her in, because she's 6 health, and she's going to do 3 or 4 or more lifesteal damage. We have Despicable Dreadlord. Okay, he's pretty cool. So, hi, I'm a demon. I'm just a mini Ragnaros. Suck it. 4/5, or not Ragnaros, Baron Geddon. You know what I meant. 4/5 for 4. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. So he's like targeted Baron Geddon. He's only hurting enemy minions. That's pretty cool. That's at least as good as a 5/5 for 5, and in practice, usually much better. That is a hell of a good demon that has no drawback other than his casting cost. Then we get to Blood Reaver Gul'dan. This is a 10 mana legendary for a reason. You get your 5 armor. He summons all friendly demons that died this game, or in practice, he'll randomly summon up like 7 of your minions that died this game. So you play him, you immediately get all that crap into play. If you have some of those things like in the Ungoro set, there was, what was it, like a 3/8 taunt, like fell dog, whatever, that was cheap. If you're getting back a couple of 3/8 taunts, then this is providing a ton of survivability with 5 armor, and then if you can get some taunt demons to come back. If you have some, like, Dreadlords coming back, and then they're going to go off and do a bunch of damage to all enemies, too, or, like, so, first off, obviously getting back all friendly demons that died this game. Some of them might be small demons, but you can rig your deck depending on how much you want to focus on making this work. But then your hero power, you lose the ability to just draw cards for your hero power, which by the time you have 10 mana, you might not want to go through your deck that much faster anyway. It turns into deal 3 damage, lifesteal. This, when you see it in practice, this is sick. Like, 3 damage to the enemy hero or to minions, and no matter what, he heals 3 every time. So often you're low in life by the time you play this guy. The damage from this is significant. It is excellent at killing shit, or just killing your opponent, and it's healing you all the time, it's trolling you up, and you probably got a bunch of demons when he went off. Like, this is really powerful. Being a 10 mana, it has to be really powerful, and you're often not going to get to play it, or it's going to be not the right time or something. But I don't know, man. This particular Death Knight is insane. Then we have Warrior. So, speaking of insane, the Animated Berserker is a 1/3 for 1. We always like 1/3 for 1s. Every time you play a minion, he deals 1 damage to it. So it's a 1/3 for 1 with the drawback that he deals 1 damage whenever you play another minion. He also has the massive advantage that he deals 1 damage to it whenever you play a minion. So every time you play an enraged minion, he'll just lightly ping it and enrage it. That's pretty good. And there's going to be some other stuff in the set that benefits from that. So he is very cool, I think. Bring it on. 2 mana. You gain 10 armor, but you reduce the cost of all minions in your opponent's hand by 2. That is a ton of armor for 10 mana. I mean, early in the game, that's pretty bad. But you gotta think, if you hang on to this and play it later in the game, you're going to save your opponent like 2 or 4 mana total. And late in the game, it's probably not, like once everyone has 10 mana, you're probably not really affecting your opponent's ability to, like how much they can do in a turn by all that much. And you're getting 10 armor for 2 mana. So, I mean, at the cost of having it sit in your hand that long, making it a late game card, that is a lot of armor for not much mana. It's interesting. Dead Man's Hand, talk about weird deck manipulation. Just shuffle a copy of your current hand into your deck. So if you can get 2 or 3 of the cards that you really want more copies of in your hand, you're just like, whoop, put them back in. Give me more of those legendaries or whatever. Weird stuff. Forge of Souls, there's the serious deck manipulation. Just 2 mana, draw 2 weapons from your deck. You can really manipulate this because unlike some of the previous ones, it's very easy and reasonable to have about 4 or 5 weapons in your deck total, some of which are duplicates, so that when you play this, you know what you're going to get. But it helps you make sure you get your weapons faster, and it helps you make sure you get those important weapons for combos, and also maybe there's stuff that you want a lot of weapons for. Well, now you can also guarantee, if there's something you need a lot of weapons for, this can sort of do that while having less actual weapons in your deck. And it's thinning your deck, and it's just like all kinds of good. So that's going to see a lot of play. Mountain Fire Armor. It's a 4/3 for 3. It's got one of those opponent's turn death rattles. If this dies during your opponent's turn, you gain 3 armor. That's pretty cool. So it's a 4/3 for 3 that's probably going to give you 6 armor. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. You still got a 4/3 for 3. It's fine. So he's pretty cool. Obviously very helpful for control-y sort of decks. Valkyr's Soul Claimer is pretty messed up. It's a 1/4 for 3. But whenever it survives damage, you get a 2/2 ghoul. So if you go turn 1, animated Berserker. Turn 2, coin out your Soul Claimer. You get a 1/3 after it takes 1 damage, and a 2/2. That's not really that impressive. But I mean, you're a warrior. There's a lot of stuff you can do. You will probably be able to get pretty good value out of this thing. And if you have this buffed somehow, if you could buff its hit points and then do more damage to it, that's pretty good. So here's the new replacement for, and every time I try and think of it, I forget the name of that weapon. You know the weapon, the one that was 4 mana, 4/2, and Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to all minions. Well, this is a much less good weapony weapon, but it's much better at the dealing 1 damage part. It's only a 2-attack weapon for 2 uses for 4 mana, but when you play this, it deals 1 damage to all minions, which can both trigger your beneficial warrior effects and wear down or kill your enemy minions. And it does it again when it leaves play, so that's pretty sweet. We have Death Revenant, which is a 3/3 for 5, but it gets +1/+1 for each damaged minion on the board. It doesn't say each friendly damaged minion, each damaged minion. So yeah, I mean, this takes some manipulation, but if there are 2 damaged minions, including enemy minions, then you're getting a 5/5 for 5. And if there are more than that, then it could be nuts. Definitely would benefit from having one of these guys out for a little while and get out some of your enraged guys. Rotface, remember the 1/3 guy. Rotface is a 4/6 for 8. That's a pretty expensive legendary. That's because whenever he survives damage, summon a random legendary minion. Summon, into play, whenever he takes damage and survives. Oh my god, the crap that could go on with this. If you have out you have out your Blood Razor, you've already used it once. You play Rotface. He takes 1 damage from your animated Berserker, random legendary. Then you attack with your Blood Razor, random legendary. Then you play Enrage or whatever for 0 mana, damages him, random legendary. Just pooping him out all over the place. It's craziness. And we have Scourge Lord Garroth, the Death Knight, final Death Knight in the set. He's 8 mana for a 5 armor like all the rest. So his battle cry, he gives you a 4/3 weapon. And whenever you damage a minion with that weapon, it also damages adjacent minions. So he's he's going to take damage to get, like, he doesn't have all this lifesteal and crap built in, but he is there to blow through enemy minions, mostly. And his hero power changes to deal 1 damage to all minions, in case you need your rot face going on, or mostly just to keep shredding enemy minions. Between his Blade Storm and the weapon that is hitting adjacent minions, he can definitely obliterate enemy forces. Of course, you have to make sure that you've got like a lot of armor for your late game, because you can't armor up with your ability anymore. You really need to get your opponent dead with this. So I don't know if he actually works out as optimally in practice, but I mean, he still does pretty powerful things. I think the Warlock one is the craziest. I've seen that done to me, and it was insane. If you can't kill him right away, and I mean, if his Legion of Demons features some taunt ones, you're probably not going to be able to kill him right away. It gets really bad as he's been drawing cards all game, his life is low, and then he starts, like, kill-obliterating everything with Siphon Life. Everything you put out, uses that to help kill it, heals more, then starts killing you with it when he runs out of things to kill. So, he's pretty nasty. Anyway, then we get into the neutral cards. We have a piece of shit 0 mana 1/1. It's a beast that makes it special, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Who cares? Asher's Veteran, a 2/1 for 1 that gives a friendly minion +1 attack, like permanent +1 attack. That's pretty awesome. It may not seem special or spectacular, but that seems like a really solid, aggressive 1 mana minion to me. Now that they changed the Sergeant to be a 1/1, instead of giving a temporary +2 attack, this gives permanent +1 attack, but it is itself a 2/1 instead of a crappy 1/1 for 1. That's pretty good. Dreadscale Knight. This is a 1/1 lifesteal Murloc. You can get good value out of that. If this guy lives to the beginning of your turn, you play a Murloc Warlord. Now you get to hit someone for 3 lifesteal, or a minion, or whatever. So that's pretty cool. Wretched Tiller is interesting. You can think of him as like a replacement for the lepers, I guess, kind of. Like, he's a 1/1 for 1. Whenever he attacks, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So if he attacks the enemy hero, he's going to hit them for 3 damage. But even if you're just trading him to finish off something else, he's at least going to do 2 damage to the enemy hero. So, I don't know. He's very aggressive, I guess. I'm not excited by him. I am excited by Fallen Sun Cleric. 2/1 for 2. Give a friendly minion +1/+1. That's really good. Now that Shattered Sun Clerics got kind of like nerfed and suck now, this is a really good replacement for them. 2 mana to give a friendly minion +1/+1, and then you also get a 2/1 out of it. If you look at it that way, that also looks pretty decent. It's just like, I don't know, it just seems very efficient and useful, even if it's not the most powerful thing ever. So here we get the first of the Prince legendaries. They are weird. So Prince Keleseth here, and they all work kind of like this. So he's a 2/2 for 2. If your deck has no 2-cost cards, so basically you didn't have any 2-cost cards other than him, or if you had any 2-cost cards, you've already drawn them, he gives all minions in your deck +1/+1. That is some serious, like, deck buffing there. That's kind of crazy. But it's weird that you would avoid having all 2-cost minions in your deck. It's like strange. I don't know. There's a Tainted Zealot. So 1/1 for 2 with Divine Shield and spell damage. That's a pretty good spell damage minion. If you just want a spell damage minion, it also interacts with Divine Shield stuff. If you have a way to buff it somehow, then that's going to work well with the Divine Shield. It seems relatively solid. I don't think it's that general use, but if you just want spell damage, you've got another choice. It does mean there are just more choices out there for cheap spell damage. Speaking of which, Tarskar Fisherman. He's a 2/3 for 2, and he gives you +1 spell damage. The drawback is that you have to have another minion, because his battle cry gives it a friendly minion other than himself spell damage +1. But still, that's 2/3 for 2 with 1 spell damage. That's pretty good. You could also potentially give that spell damage to a stealth minion or something else weird. Death Speaker is like crazy ass. He's a 2/4 for 3. His battle cry gives a friendly minion immune. So, first off, early in the game, he's a 2/4 for 3, it's fine. Later in the game, You just play him before making a trade with big minions, and now your big minion takes no damage from that trade. Amazing. But also, I'm pretty sure immune is immune. It's not just like prevent the next damage dealt to it. I'm pretty sure if your minion is immune, it's not going to be affected by spells that blow everything up. So what happens if you Death Speaker one of your minions and then you brawl? I don't even think that minion's going to be included in a brawl. I think it's probably immune to the brawl. I think it's probably going to be like left out, and then everything else is going to die except for one. We'd have to see how that works. I can't guarantee that, but I'm certain that anything that just deals damage to all minions would not kill the minion that you give an immune with this. So you could play this and then Dragonfire Potion, and that minion of your choice will survive. So that's pretty good. Drakari Enchanter is a 1/5 for 3, but your end of turn effects trigger twice. What? It's like craziness. This actually just goes insane. It also conveniently has just enough hit points to survive when, for 10 mana, you play her and Baron Geddon, and Baron Geddon goes into full Flame Strike mode every turn. Baron Geddon Flame Strikes everything. Like, she'll survive it once. So that's craziness. Happy Ghoul is, like, I'm sure you can do a lot of other things with that, too. Like, even just that Priest minion, the 2/2 for 2, that gives +1/+1 to one of your minions at the end of turn. Now it does it twice. That's amazing. So that's a very cool card. Happy Ghoul, pretty good for Priest, even though it's a neutral. It's a 3/3 for 3, but it costs 0 if your hero was healed this turn. So if you're a Priest and your hero has taken any damage, you could heal yourself and then play him for free. That's cool. And of course you could be healed in other ways too. Not like really impressive, but just kind of cool. Hildnir Frostrider is a 4/4 for 3, but its battle cry freezes one of your other minions. This is kind of why I think if you freeze a minion, it has to actually miss a chance to attack. I think if a minion gets frozen, so I think if you attack with that minion and then freeze it, it's not going to unfreeze on your next turn. I think it has to be frozen at the start of your turn once, and then the next turn it will unfreeze. Which does make that cryo +3/+3 shaman thing less good. But still, that is pretty interesting, because you could have minions whose job isn't really to attack anyway. Just get out your 4/4 for 3, and that, as far as 4/4 for 3s go, that's not a bad battle cry. Okay, it's freeze all your other minions. Sorry, you don't get to choose. But if he's your only minion, does nothing, right? Just a 4/4 for 3. Mindbreaker is very interesting minion in your set, because for a 2/5 for 3, he disables all hero powers. That means he's potentially a counter to those crazy Death Knights. Now, some of the Death Knights care more or less about their hero power, but usually they all have a pretty good hero power that is worth shutting down. And yeah, he shuts them down, so that's pretty good. I mean, they could just kill him. It's only a 2/5 for 3, but a 2/5 for 3 is not bad stats early in the game. If I'm a Priest, this guy I find probably would be annoying. I wouldn't want to play him turn 3 and disable my healing, because I'd be like, he'd take damage, and I'm like, oh, I'll heal you. Oh, no, wait, I can't. But if you're like a hunter or something, I would be perfectly happy disabling my hunter ability for a while early in the game, while I still have all kinds of minions to cast. I want to use it later in the game to finish you off, but I probably don't want to be... I'm not going to choose to do 2 damage to you if I could play a bigger minion or another minion instead, usually. Here's the 3-mana Prince, Prince Taldaram. If your deck has no 3-cost cards, or no 3-cost cards left anyway, transform him into a 3/3 copy of a minion. That's really weird. This must be a 3/3... I gotta look him up too, because if you're choosing a minion in play and making him a 3/3 copy, then okay, that's kind of cool. If it's like a random minion or something, that's pretty stupid. Yeah, so it's copy a minion on the board. It makes sense when you think about it. It's just, I hate their stupid imprecise wording. Like, if this was a Magic the Gathering card, it would say into a copy of target minion, which would immediately make it clear that you pick something. Anyway, but yeah, okay, so he's a 3/3 that copies the abilities of another minion. assuming that you left out all the 3-cost cards in your deck. I mean, that can be pretty good. There are a lot. You could copy a good Death Rattle. If you have a crazy legendary out, copying that could be pretty strong. So that's interesting. I don't know how exciting it is, but we have Shallow Gravedigger is one of the ones that they revealed in the initial press releases and stuff. 3/1 for 3. Death Rattle adds a random Death Rattle minion to your hand. So it's just like a little bit bigger than Loot Hoarder. It's still vulnerable to 1 damage effects, which is kind of annoying, but it's going to give you a guaranteed another minion in your hand, and there's a lot of choices of Death Rattle minions. Some of them are big and scary. Fry Ghoul. He has the, if he dies on your opponent's turn, get a 2/2 Ghoul Death Rattle. He's only a 3/1 for 3, but your opponent has to either ignore him, and you can hit them for 3 every turn or something, or kill him, and then you get a 2/2, in which case you got like 5/3 worth of stats for 3 mana, which is a lot. On the other hand, you're faced with the problem that if you trade him to kill one of your opponent's minions, then you don't get anything for it. On the other hand, if you played a 3-attack minion for 3, and your opponent avoided it and let you just kill whatever you wanted to with it later, that's not bad. Arthas, the dog, not the Death Knight, but he's a 2/2 legendary for 4. His Death Rattle adds a random Death Knight card to your hand. The Death Knight cards are a set of spells. I'll pull them up when I get to actual Arthas. But they're very good. I mean, there's a little bit like one of those spare part sets, but it's really more on par with Isara's cards, I guess. I don't know if they're as strong. We'll see when I get to that point. Corpse Taker is really interesting. So it's a 3/3 for 4. Her battle cry gives her Taunt, Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and or Wind Fury. She'll get all of those powers that some minion still in your deck has. So if you build your deck to have all of these things, then for 4 mana you're going to get a 3/3 Taunt, Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Wind Fury, which is a crazy ass minion. You're probably not going to get all of those because fitting in the Lifesteal isn't convenient with all classes. Fitting in the Wind Fury is actually really inconvenient for most classes. But I don't know, getting a 3/3, if you can get 3 of those 4 abilities consistently, that's pretty strong. I find it pretty interesting. Of course, what happens is if you only have like 1 Lifesteal minion or 1 Wind Fury minion, and then you draw it before you play her, then you're not going to get that ability, and then she becomes worse. So it's interesting that way. But Death Axe Punisher, really subtle sounding guy. He's a 3/3 for 4. His battle cry is give a random Lifesteal minion in your hand, +2/+2. So you have to have a minion in your hand that has Lifesteal. If you do, then you get a 3/3 for 4 mana, and you give that Lifesteal minion +2/+2. That's really specific. I can't see him seeing a lot of play, although +2/+2 on a Lifesteal minion is probably amazing, so I don't know. It doesn't seem like a winner. Grave Shambler is weird. It's a 4/4 elemental for 4. Whenever your weapon is destroyed, gain +1/+1. I'm assuming that counts when you run out of uses. I'm pretty sure, just like Death Rattles trigger when you run out of uses on the weapon. So, I don't know, maybe that's good as a rogue. You have 1 use on your weapon, on your dagger left when you hit turn 4, and you play this guy, stab something, or stab your opponent, now he's a 5/5, and you sort of go from there. So that's pretty cool. And then you could have the warrior deck based on having a lot of weapons, and that could work out okay too. Not super amazing, but it's okay, and it's an elemental, which is good in recent sets. Grim Necromancer is a 2/4 for 4, just comes with 2 1/1 skeletons. So you're getting a fair amount of stuff there for the 4 mana. Is it really good? I don't know, but you are getting 4/6 worth of stats for 4 mana. It's just split up awkwardly. Keening Banshee is a 5/5 for 4, but whenever you play a card, remove the top 3 cards of your deck. Wow. So, I mean, on one hand, this is way more controllable than what's its 8/8 for like Death Reaver or whatever that stupid thing was. Fell Reaver. This is Fell Reaver was triggered off your opponent playing cards, so it was your opponent who could actually screw you over with that. You could play the Keening Banshee and intentionally not play cards for a while, and maybe you have some strategy to use your mana in other ways, or I don't know. But removing top 3 cards from your deck is pretty bad when it happens. Still, it's one of those things where you can get it killed. I don't know. It's probably not the worst. Losing 3 cards is probably not the worst, but I don't know. Meat Wagon! That's some old school, like, Warcraft 3 stuff for you. It's a 1/4 mech for 4. Sounds pretty crappy. But its Death Rattle is summon a minion from your deck with less attack than this minion. It's very random, but like basically, if you can buff its attack somehow, then when it dies, it'll summon a random minion from your deck, which may potentially be fairly large if you were able to buff its attack somehow. It kind of depends. It's very weird, really. Because it says summon a minion with less attack. It's unclear if it prioritized, if it was like summon the highest attack minion in your deck with less attack than this minion, then it would seem pretty cool. But since it doesn't say that, that seems really like convoluted and random to try and get this thing to work. But I don't know. Maybe it's good. I doubt it. Night Howler is a 3/4 for 4. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain +2 attack. So it's kind of like, it's a 3/4 for 4 version of the like 2/7 for 5 troll. That doesn't really seem like a winner to me, but on the other hand, there's a lot of good warrior. There's some good warrior stuff for doing damage to your own minions, and you could get a lot of attack out of that, I guess. Not fun, it says. Phantom Freebooter, on the other hand, there's a way to get stats. It's a 3/3 for 4, but his battle cry is it just gains stats equal to your weapon, like your whole weapon, not just your attack. So if you have out a 4/2 weapon, then you're gonna pay 4 mana, and you're gonna get a 7/5 minion. If you're using stuff to buff your weapons or other crazy things like that, that could be a lot of stats for 4 mana. And it counts as a pirate, because why not? Prince Valinar is the 4-cost prince. If your deck has no 4-cost cards, then he's a 4/4 lifesteal taunt for 4. See, that's like 4/4 lifesteal taunt is pretty strong, but do you really want to just avoid 4-cost cards in your whole deck for that? That seems like a really odd choice to me. I don't know. Rattling Rascal, he's like, what the hell? So you get a 2/2 for 4. When he dies, his battle cry gives you a 5/5 skeleton, but his death rattle gives a 5/5 skeleton to your opponent. So unless your plan is to treachery this guy, he's quite a liability potentially. On the other hand, I mean, you get a 2/2 and a 5/5 for 4 mana. Boy, would he be a bad one to have summoned randomly, though. It's like you're expecting a 4-cost minion, and you get a 2/2 with this crazy drawback if it dies. I don't know. Serenite Chain Gang, I actually pretty much like these guys. Is a 2/3 for 4. The Battlecry summons a copy of this minion. So 2/3 taunt. So you compare him to the wolf summoning spell from Shamans, right? That's 2/3 taunts for 3 mana and then 2 overload. Instead of 3 mana up front and then 2 the next turn, this guy's just 4 up front for the same amount of minions, same stats and taunt, except he also benefits from hand buffing. So if you can give him +1/+1 while he's in your hand, then you're going to get 2, 3, 4 taunts, and that's pretty sweet. And it goes on from there. Ticking Abomination is a 4/5. Can't talk. He's a 5/6 for 4, which is a pretty big minion. His death rattle deals 5 damage to your minions only. So, I mean, if he's your only minion, he has no drawback, I guess. But that's yeah. If you do want to have other minions, then that's kind of a liability. But 5/6 for 4 is not, like, that's pretty fat. Wicked Skeleton is weird, right? Is at 4 mana. He starts at 1 1, and he gets +1/+1 for each minion that died this turn when you play him. Which, since he costs 4 mana, it's kind of based on minions that you can get killed without spending too much mana. I don't know. Like, he could be a fair size. It just seems not great to me. Like, I'd rather play with Warlord that's a 4/4 for 5 and then gets +1/+1 for each minion that I control. I just play that before attacking instead of playing this guy after attacking. I don't know. Doesn't seem that exciting to me. He's common. Bloodworm also doesn't seem that exciting, but it's pretty. If you're going to make lifesteal a thing, you might as well have it straightforward. Is a 4/4 lifesteal for 5. He's a beast. I mean, he's going to heal you 4 probably, at least, so you get some health out of that. But this guy is sick. He's a 5/5 dragon for 5, and at the end of your turn, he gives another random friendly minion +3 attack. That is strong. This guy is going to see play. Possibly even in non-dragon decks for all I know. I don't know. He seems really good to me. If the deck was taunt themed, that would be pretty good. Corpse Raiser is a 3/3 for 5. His battle cry is give a friendly minion, death rattle, resummon this minion. So that's a lot of weird text. But yeah, basically he's a 3/3 for 5, and he gives one of your other minions a life insurance policy, full on shaman style, not like the crappy paladin card where he comes back with 1 health. So that's a pretty good power, I think. You can do that on a minion with a death rattle just before you trade it, and then you're going to get the death rattle, and it's going to come back at full health. So he seems like a pretty good guy. I don't know. We'll have to see how he works out. Skelemancer is weird because he's a 2/2 for 5. But if he dies on your opponent's turn, he summons you an 8/8 skeleton. That's pretty crazy. Yeah. No, that is like the problem is like it's a powerful trap. It's just a super obvious trap that you spend a lot of mana on, and your opponent can just kind of ignore him, just like not kill him. If you need that 2 damage to finish off something else, it's not going to work out. And for 5 mana, you could have gotten way better minion than this. So you really need it to die on your opponent's turn to give you that 8/8 somehow, but that's kind of hard to work out. Now, if you could copy that death rattle onto something else, like maybe that's good, but he costs 5. I don't know. He's an interesting card. I can see why they printed him. I don't know how much play he's going to see. Sunborn Valkyr is a 5/4 for 5. Battlecry, give adjacent minions +2 health. That's just kind of cool. I don't know how great she is, but giving 2 of your minions +2 health, like permanently, as permanent as anything is, this seems pretty reasonable. Tomb Lurker is a 5/3 for 5. His Battlecry adds a random death rattle minion that died this game to your hand. So you have some control over that, or you can at least see what happens because of like what death rattle minions you've already used. Although it also is going to include death rattle minions that your opponent has had die. So that's pretty weird. 5/3 for 5, and he gives you a card. So not bad. I looked at this guy initially. I thought he was garbage. I'm still not sure he's a powerhouse, but it's interesting. So it's a 2/5 poisonous for 5. You're like 2/5 for 5. For 5 mana, I could get a 5/5 for 5. It wouldn't be poisonous, but it would kill anything it fights that has 5 or less hit points, right? But I don't know. The advantage of this, okay, is that if it does attack and kill a really huge minion, it can kill it. Unlike most poisonous things are pretty fragile. So this guy, it does take some more effort to get rid of him. Like he's not going to get wiped out by 1 or 2 or 3 damage AoE. Your opponent's actually going to have to do something to get rid of him. And he could, at 5 health, like he can kill multiple weaker minions and still survive. So he's not that much worse than a 5/5. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he's a lot better than just getting a 5/5 for 5, especially since your 5/5 for 5 probably has some other ability. So, anyway, I feel like he should be bigger, but if he was much bigger, he'd be treading on the territory of that legendary spider. Bone Drake is amazing too. What's with the really good dragons in this price range, eh? 6 mana for a 6/5 dragon. Death Rattle. Add a random dragon to your hand. Guess what? A random dragon is usually a pretty good card. So those guys are good. They're also a good thing you pull if you're discovering a dragon. Furnace Fire Colossus is like, yeah, he wants to be big. So you get a 6/6 for 6, but when he comes out, his battle cry discards all weapons from your hand and adds their stats. So if you use that Forge whatever 2 mana, like draw 2 weapons from your deck, then you play him, this guy is going to discard those 2 weapons and be massive, like way bigger than a 6-cost minion has any right to be. Of course, he cost you one or more weapons from your hand, but he could be quite huge for that, so that's pretty interesting. Necrotic Geist is a 5/3 for 6. He works a little bit like the Cult Leader guy, right? Whenever one of your other minions dies, he gives you something. So you kind of want to play him just before attacking with a bunch of things that are doomed to die, like just before trading a bunch of minions. But instead of giving you a card, he gives you a 2/2 ghoul each time, which sounds less good than a card, except the ghouls are also minions. So when one of your 2/2 ghouls dies, he gives you another ghoul. That's pretty rough. Now, he only has 3 health. He costs 6 mana. He's very fragile, but certainly if he stays alive for any period of time, you could get crazy advantage out of those ghouls dying and respawning. Nerubian Unraveler is a 5/5 for 6. He just makes spells cost 2 more. I can see that as being very useful in some decks. If your deck doesn't use a lot of spells in the late game, you think there's a reasonable chance your opponent's does, might as well play the Unraveler and just annoy them. On the other hand, by that time of the game, it's less likely to prevent them from casting spells, period. It's just going to make it harder for them to do multiple things per turn. Skulking Geist is very weird. So you get a 4/6 for 6, so just a little on the small side. His battle cry, destroy all 1-cost spells in both hands and decks. Wait, is that only spells? I thought it was all 1-cost cards. If it's not getting rid of minions... What? Why doesn't he get rid of minions? Destroy all 1-cost spells. Like, I guess if you really hate Paladin Secrets. Man, that is a weird thing. I thought he was interesting and good when I thought he also got rid of 1-cost minions. He just seems a little bit more limited if it's only spells. I don't know. Weird. Spellweaver. It's just 4/4 for 6 with +2 spell damage. You want that spell damage? Boom, spell damage. If you were playing with that priest spell with Spirit Lash, right? You for 6 mana, you drop your Spellweaver. No, of course you did this. I hate the way their card thing works. But yeah, for 6 mana, you drop this guy down, and for 2 mana, you deal 3 damage to all minions and heal all the damage dealt. That would be a crazy comeback combo. Bone Mare, this guy's okay. He's not great size, but the spell damage is good. This guy is awesome. So you get a 5/5 for 7, and he gives a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. That is okay, so the drawback is it requires a friendly minion. But that is a huge buff. If you're giving that to a minion that is able to attack this turn, that is a lot of damage, that +4/+4 damage. And then you're also giving it taunt, so it's helping keep you alive, and that is a lot of stats. And if you have a minion that can attack right away, that's really a lot. That's a good chunk that can attack right away, like a Blessing of Kings. So, rough. Then we have the Lich King. And the Lich King, I mean, he's an 8/8 for 8. He's kind of like, well, he's an 8/8 taunt for 8, but otherwise, he's kind of like Ysera, in that he just, at the end of every turn, he gives you a random card from a set of his own special sort of custom cards. Now, my understanding is these are the same cards that you get from Arthas, but I don't have my window set up for them. Okay, I'm not going to show them. Tough luck. But the choices are, the cards that he can give you. It is a pretty big pool of cards, so you don't really know what you're going to get. But he's going to give you a random one every turn. There's Anti-Magic Shell, just 4 mana. Give all your minions +2/+2 and can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. That's pretty strong, especially since that would affect him. Army of the Dead, 6 mana. Remove the top 5 cards of your deck. Summon any minions removed. Death and Decay is 3 mana. Deal 3 damage to all enemies. Jeez. 2 mana. Death Coil. Deal 5 damage to an enemy or restore 5 health to a friendly character. So it's deal 5 or heal 5. One or the other. There's Death Grip, 2 mana. Steal a minion from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. That's kind of just like random and weird. That's usually not the one you want. Doom Pact, 5 mana. Destroy all minions. Remove the top card from your deck for each minion destroyed. So just burn through your own deck, but blow up all minions. Of course, that's going to blow up himself too, which is seems kind of poor. But I guess if he's already died. Frostmourne, it's a 7 mana weapon. Has 5 attack, 3 uses, and Death Rattle. Summon every minion killed by this weapon. Damn, that is a freaky weapon. I mean, it doesn't do anything to keep you alive, and maybe in the late game you need to keep alive. Like, it's probably not, that power is probably not going to come up that many times, but damn. And finally, Obliterate. 2 mana, destroy a minion, your hero takes damage equal to its health. So, this is a set of very strong cards for the most part. He's picking one of those 8 cards and giving it to you at random at the end of each turn. Again, he's kind of like a big taunt evil Ysera. Except Ysera can give you minions. But anyway, so that is the Wrath of the Lich King's, Knights of the Frozen Throne set. There is a lot of cool stuff in the set. There's a lot of freaky, like, combo-y stuff. But I do kind of like that they're trying to spread out the taunt synergy to Druid, and they're trying to spread out the freezing synergy to Shaman. There are a whole bunch of interesting things in the set. It'll be cool to see how it turns out. Some cards are better than others, and a lot of these cards are kind of too combo-y for the arena, but we'll see how that works out next time.
Please click the like button before it clicks you. And check out Tales from My D&D Campaign on youtube.com/Demonac.